Hello everyone, I'm Zhang Jie from Shanghai University of Finance and Economics. Now, let's move on to the section of green development. When you think about economic growth, what comes to mind? For many years, people believed that rapid development could only happen at the expense of the environment. You can't make an omelette without breaking some eggs. In other words, to get richer, we had to accept polluted rivers, smoggy skies, and vanishing forests as the price of progress. But is that really the only way forward? Is economic success always in conflict with nature? Or can we find a new path, one where a thriving economy and a clean, beautiful environment support each other rather than compete? This is the central idea behind green development. In today's world, more and more countries are searching for ways to grow green, to create wealth, raise living standards, and support innovation, all while protecting nature and using resources in a sustainable manner. As global awareness grows, countries are searching for sustainable solutions. Among them, China stands out with its unique approach. Instead of just pursuing growth at all costs, China aims for green development. Green development is about growing the economy in a way that is friendly to the environment. Instead of focusing only on speed, China now aims for quality. This means balancing economic progress with protecting nature, cutting pollution, and saving resources. In September 2020, President Xi Jinping announced at the 75th session of the United Nations General Assembly that China would adopt effective policies and measures to tackle climate change. He stated that China aims to peak its carbon dioxide emissions before 2030 and to achieve carbon neutrality before 2060. To make these goals a reality, China has set several clear targets. By 2030, China plans to reduce carbon emissions per unit of GDP by more than 65% compared to 2005 levels. At the same time, about 25% of the country's energy will come from non-fossil sources such as wind, solar, and hydropower. China will also work to increase its forest stock by 6 billion cubic meters compared to 2005, and the total installed capacity of wind and solar power will reach over 1.2 billion kilowatts. These ambitious goals highlight China's commitment to green and sustainable development. Policies are shifting from simply controlling energy use to actively reducing carbon emissions, adopting clean technologies, and investing in nature as a valuable asset. But what does this look like in practice? Can communities really make a living by protecting, not exploiting their environment? What happens to people's lives and jobs when the old, polluting industries are shut down? And how can we ensure that green development benefits both people and the planet? These are the questions we'll explore in this lesson. Let's dive into the stories, challenges, and solutions shaping China's path toward green development, and see what lessons might be relevant not just for China, but for the world. Anji County in Zhejiang province is a shining example of China's commitment to green development. Once heavily dependent on mining, Anji now shows the world how to thrive by protecting the environment. This transformation is based on the idea that lucid waters and large mountains are invaluable assets, a concept introduced by President Xi Jinping in 2005. This concept is often called the two mountains theory. Today, Anji is not only an eco-friendly tourism hub, but also a model of green development for other regions to follow. Back in the early 2000s, Anji County, particularly its Yucun Village, faced significant environmental degradation. The local economy relied heavily on mining, and this caused severe pollution and soil erosion. There were large mining pits, and water sources had become contaminated. The turning point came in 2005, when President Xi Jinping visited Yucun Village and introduced the now famous Two Mountains theory. This idea suggested that protecting nature could also lead to economic benefits, and it became the cornerstone for Anji's green development. The first step in Anji's transformation was restoring the environment. The county closed over 90% of its mining operations and focused on replanting forests and rehabilitating damaged land. This approach wasn't easy, but the results are clear. By 2023, forests covered 71% of Anji County. More than 91% of the year, the air quality was good or excellent. And all the main rivers and water sources met clean water standards. As the environment improved, Anji turned to tourism as the new driver of its economic growth. The county embraced its natural beauty and developed ecotourism. Since 2005, Anji's GDP has grown from 8.9 billion yuan to over 61.5 billion yuan in 2023. Ecotourism has now attracted over 30 million visitors in total, bringing in 44.8 billion yuan in tourism revenue. After Anji began its journey of ecological restoration, the lives of ordinary people in the county started to transform in unexpected ways. The story of Anji's green transition is not just told through policies and statistics, but through the experiences of villagers, entrepreneurs, and community leaders. Pan Chunling once worked as a tractor driver in the local mines in Yucun Village. He experienced firsthand the consequences of environmental decline. Back then, nobody dared to wear a white shirt. If you went out clean in the morning, you'd come home covered in dust, he recalled. After the mines were shut down, the economic shock was immediate and severe. The village collective income plummeted from over 3 million yuan per year to just over 200,000 yuan, a dramatic loss for a rural community. For a time, the future looked uncertain. Pan was among the first to seek a new direction. He decided to open Yucun's first rural guest house, the Chunling Mountain Villa. At the time, few believed tourism could replace mining. As the environment recovered, the change is vivid, where mountains were bald and waters were dark as soy sauce. Now, as locals say, walking through Yucun is like wandering in a painting. Pan's business flourished, and he soon became the chair of Yucun's Homestay Alliance, now coordinating over 40 family-run inns. Today, Yucun stands as a national 4A level scenic spot, a national civilized village, a national model for beautiful and livable villages, and a UN World Tourism Organization Best Tourism Village. In 2023, the collective village income reached more than 22 million yuan, and average per capita income for villagers rose to 71,000 yuan. Pan's journey from miner to innkeeper reflects both the difficulties and the hope at the heart of Anji's green development. After Yucun's success with ecotourism, other villages in Anji also looked for ways to turn ecological assets into real economic benefits. One notable example comes from Gaojiatang village, where bamboo forests stretch as far as the eye can see. For generations, villagers relied on bamboo for traditional products. But in recent years, they found a new way to sell the value of their bamboo by participating in the carbon market. Here's how it works. Bamboo forests, like all forests, absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and store it. This carbon sink capacity is now recognized and can be measured. In 2021, Anji County established the Bamboo Carbon Sink Trading Center. This platform allows villages and villagers to transfer their forest land use rights to the center, which then manages the bamboo forests collectively and sells the carbon absorption credits on the market. Recently, Guangdong-Hong Village completed a carbon sink transaction for its 2.7 square kilometers of bamboo forest. The result? The village collective received 210,000 yuan from the transaction, a new, non-traditional source of income. The money goes directly into the village's account and is used for both dividends to residents and the maintenance of the bamboo forest. For local families, this meant an average increase of nearly 1,000 yuan per household, simply for maintaining healthy bamboo forests. The logic is simple but powerful. Companies that need to offset their carbon emissions purchase these credits, providing real incentives for rural communities to protect and grow their forests. It's a win-win. The environment is better protected, and the villagers have a new income stream that rewards sustainable practices. While Anji's transformation showcases how mountains can turn from exploited resources into drivers of prosperity, the Yangtze River story demonstrates how waters can similarly be restored to both ecological and economic health. From January 1, 2021, China launched a sweeping 10-year fishing ban across key waters of the Yangtze River basin. This is the toughest action for river protection in China's history, and for good reason. Over the past few decades, the Yangtze's rich biodiversity was in sharp decline. Overfishing, habitat loss, and water pollution had pushed many native fish to the brink of extinction. Short-term seasonal bans simply weren't enough. Once they were lifted, fishing pressure quickly returned and the ecosystem had no chance to recover. Recognizing this, the government decided on a decade-long ban, aiming to give the river and its fish populations a real chance to heal. Implementing the ban has not been easy. The Yangtze ban covers an enormous area, over 14,000 kilometers of river stretches, 10,000 square kilometers of lakes during high water, and more than 300 aquatic reserves. To ensure the ban is effective, the government has introduced a series of policies and support measures. These include strengthening laws and regulations against illegal fishing, increasing patrols and surveillance along the river, and offering better legal enforcement. So, has the ban made a difference for biodiversity? The data says yes. Since 2021, scientists have tracked 344 native fish species in the Yangtze, a jump of 36 species compared to the years just before the ban. This is a clear sign of ecological recovery. Some rare or even once locally extinct species are reappearing, showing that the river's life is slowly bouncing back. But none of this progress would be possible without taking care of the people most affected. Ensuring that these families could find new sources of income and security became just as important as restoring the environment itself. Programs were launched to help fishermen transition to new jobs, such as providing training in agriculture, offering startup funds for new businesses, and ensuring social security coverage. These efforts aim not only to protect the river's ecosystem, but also to help local people build stable and sustainable new lives. When the ban began, more than 200,000 fishermen had to find new livelihoods. The government responded by rolling out a wide safety net. In places like Lianxu town in Nanchang, Jiangxi province, former fishermen received training in agricultural skills and were given land, resources, and technical support. Many, like Tu Zhiwen, the head of the Fishermen's Job Center in Lianxu, turned to farming, growing vegetables and even developing rice-shrimp integrated agriculture. Thanks to strong local support, Tu's base now covers 1.2 square kilometers and generated over 1 million yuan in net profit in 2024, providing work for dozens of ex-fishermen. Other stories show a similar pattern of transformation. In Chongqing, Tan Mingdong and his wife both left fishing behind as the river's ecosystem deteriorated and fish became scarce. Tan Mingdong said, "The more we fished, the poorer we got." With government support, over 200,000 yuan in startup funds, they opened a car wash. Today, their monthly income is more stable and secure than when they were fishing. In total, 222,000 fishermen eligible for social insurance have been covered by this insurance, and 165,000 who are willing and able to work have been transferred into other jobs. As Tan Mingdong says, life is more secure now and much better than before. This reflects a wider trend. With solid government support, the transition from fishing to other livelihoods has moved from getting off the boat to settling down and, in some cases, getting rich. These personal stories show that environmental policies, when combined with real social support, can benefit both nature and people. The two stories above illustrate China's evolving approach to development. This approach increasingly values the environment as an asset rather than a resource to be consumed. This shift marks a fundamental change in the meaning of relying on the mountains and rivers. It is no longer about sacrificing the environment for short-term growth, but about achieving long-term prosperity by protecting and restoring nature. From these examples, several core principles of China's green development emerge. First, China's green development model is people-centered. A sound environment is both a fundamental public good and a growing public expectation as living standards improve. Across regions, environmental policies are crafted to solve issues affecting people's well-being, whether air and water quality, green spaces, or economic opportunities tied to the local environment. By restoring ecological systems and encouraging new industries, such as ecotourism or green agriculture, China has worked to ensure that development not only raises incomes, but also enhances quality of life and social security for local communities. Second, China's strategy links ecological protection with high-quality economic growth. The country seeks to balance development with environmental capacity, planning for both current and future generations. Efforts are made to turn natural strengths, such as forests, rivers, and biodiversity, into drivers of sustainable economic activity. Initiatives like the Yangtze River fishing ban and carbon sink trading in Anji demonstrate how environmental restoration can yield tangible economic and social benefits. These approaches create new sources of income, help communities transition to more resilient livelihoods, and foster a harmonious relationship between people and nature. Third, green development in China is not a collection of isolated projects, but a comprehensive transformation of how society grows and thrives. Policies are designed using systems thinking, coordinating across regions, sectors, and time frames to maximize benefits and minimize trade-offs. The emphasis is on building institutional mechanisms that both constrain harmful activities and incentivize positive change. This includes integrated land use planning, support for green industries, robust enforcement of environmental regulations, and the development of markets for ecological products and services. Such coordinated efforts help ensure that economic, social, and environmental goals advance together. Fourth, certain regions like the Yangtze River Delta play a pioneering role in exploring integrated green development. Through demonstration zones, policy innovation, and clustering of eco-friendly industries, these areas are testing ways to translate ecological advantages into lasting economic and social benefits. Their experiences serve as valuable models for broader national replication. In summary, China's approach to green development highlights the importance of aligning economic and ecological interests, taking a long-term perspective and ensuring that people benefit from environmental progress. By embedding green values into its development philosophy and practice, China is working to meet both present needs and the aspirations of future generations, while contributing to global efforts for sustainable development.